All right, let's talk German. Ever wanted to tell someone what you did last weekend or yesterday or even just 5 minutes ago? Well, to do that, you've got to know one thing inside and out, the perfect tense. It is the key to everyday conversations about the past, and that's exactly what we're going to break down right now.
So, really, how do you talk about what you did yesterday in German? It's a huge question for anyone learning, right? You might have the vocabulary, but putting it all together to say something simple like, I went to the store or I read a book, that's the tricky part. And that's exactly what we're going to tackle. Okay, so what is the perfect tense? Here's the deal. It's the main way you talk about the past in spoken German. Yeah, there are other past tenses, but for just chatting, for telling a story, this is your go-to. It's how people actually talk. Seriously, think of it as the conversational past tense. You get this down and you're all set to tell people about your day. The best part about the perfect tense, it has this super clear, really logical structure. It's kind of like a secret formula. And once I show it to you, you'll see it everywhere. We call it the sentence bracket. So, this isn't about just one verb. The perfect is what we call a compound tense, which is a fancy way of saying it uses a team of two parts to get the job done. First, you have a helper verb, an auxiliary verb, and second, you have the main verb, the action word, but it gets changed into a special form called a past participle. And this is that sentence bracket, or Satzklammer, as they say in German. Check it out. The helper verb always locks into the second spot in the sentence. Then you have all the other stuff, the who, what, where, right in the middle. And then, bam, the past participle comes at the very end, closing the whole thing up like a clamp. Pretty neat, huh? All right, so we need that helper verb in position 2, but which one? German gives you two choices, haben or sein. And picking the right one is your first big decision. Let's figure out how to do it. Honestly, the main rule here is pretty straightforward. Think of haben, which means to have, as your default setting. It works with the vast majority of verbs. So when in doubt, haben is almost always your best guess. Sein, or to be, is for special occasions. It's only used with certain types of verbs. So when exactly do you use sein? Well, there are two main categories. First, for verbs that show movement from point A to point B. Think verbs like fahren, gehen, coming, driving, going, coming. Second, for verbs that show a change of state, like aufstehen, to get up, or aufwachen, to wake up. And then, of course, there are a couple of oddballs you just have to memorize, like bleiben and passieren. Okay, so we've got our helper verb sorted. Now it's time for the other side of the bracket, the past participle. This is just your main action verb, all dressed up in its past tense form. Let's look at how to build it. Think of this table as your ultimate cheat sheet. For most regular verbs, the formula is easy. You stick a ge on the front and a t on the end. So machen becomes gemacht. Now for verbs that end in ieren, it's even easier. You just add a t, no ge needed. Irregular verbs are the tricky ones. They usually get a ge and end in ein, but their spelling might change a bit. And what about verbs with prefixes? If the prefix can be separated, like einkaufen, the ge actually gets squished right in the middle, ein gekauft. But if the prefix is inseparable, like in besuchen, you just skip the ge altogether. Okay, we've got our two pieces of the puzzle, the helper verb and the past participle. Now for the fun part, let's actually put them together to make some sentences. And stick around, because I've got a killer pro tip that'll make you sound way more like a native speaker. Let's start with a haben example. Ich habe ein Buch gelesen. See that beautiful sentence bracket? Ich is your subject. Right in position 2, you've got your helper verb, habe. Then the details, ein Buch. And what's closing it all out at the very end? Your past participle, gelesen. It works like a charm every time. Now let's try one with sein. Ich bin nach Hause gegangen. Okay, so the verb is gehen, to go, and that's movement, right? So we have to use sein. And look, the structure is exactly the same. Ich, the subject, bin, our helper verb sitting in position 2, the detail nach Hause is in the middle, and the participle, gegangen, locks it all down at the end. All right, you ready for that pro tip I promised? This is a little secret that will instantly make your German sound more natural. So, even though you use the perfect tense for pretty much everything, there's one huge exception. When you're talking about the verbs to be and to have themselves, native speakers almost never use the perfect. Instead, they use the simple past. Ich war for I was and ich hatte for I had. Seriously, using this little trick is a game changer for sounding fluent. And that's it. You've got the formula, you know the rules, and you've even got the pro tips. All the tools are right here. So now you're all set. The only question is, what are you going to say you did yesterday?